Okay, so I've been sitting in my car in the CVS parking lot on Pineville Matthews for about 40 minutes now, and I keep starting this and deleting it because I don't know how to open it without it sounding like every other dumb internet story that starts with, "You're not gonna believe this." But I need to write it down somewhere, and this is what I have, so. My name is Jake, 26, Charlotte, IT support. I have a girlfriend, Emily, 3 years, and a best friend, Ryan, since college, who lives maybe 15 minutes away. That's the relevant cast. Everything else about my life is genuinely not interesting enough to summarize. A few weeks ago, on a Tuesday night, I was on my couch scrolling Reddit before bed. I do this every night. It's a bad habit I've had for years. I fall asleep with the phone in my hand. And I found a post on r/relationship advice. The title was something like, "My best friend called me out of nowhere and said something weird. Now I think my girlfriend is cheating on me. Does anyone else see a pattern here?" I clicked on it because I liked the headline. That's it. No deeper reason. The guy who wrote it, Throw RA Confused 88, described his situation. 3 years with his girlfriend, Kate. No red flags. Then one night, his best friend, Mike, calls him. They talk about nothing, and at the very end, Mike says something like, "Hey, you doing okay? Like, are you actually good with Emily and everything?" And then after that, small stuff started piling up. Kate coming home later than usual, bringing her phone into the bathroom when she'd never done that before, seeming distracted, like her mind was elsewhere. The post was asking, "Am I paranoid or is this real?" 847 comments. I read through some of them, uploaded the post, thought, rough, put my phone down. It was maybe 12:40. At 12:59, Ryan called. I didn't pick up. Half asleep, 1 a.m. call means drunk or pocket dial. And he texted right after. "Hey, we'll talk tomorrow. All good. Go to sleep." I sent a thumbs up and went to sleep. Morning, driving to work, I called him back. He picked up immediately. "What'd you want last night?" "Oh, nothing big. Hey, how are you doing though? Like, are you good with Emily and everything?" I was at a red light on Independence Boulevard. And I remember I didn't feel anything alarmed. My brain didn't connect it to the post I'd read 6 hours earlier. I just said, "Yeah, everything's fine. Why do you ask?" And he said, "No reason, just checking in," and we made plans for Friday. And that was it. I got to work, grabbed coffee, forgot about it. I want to be accurate about this part, because it's the part that I keep second guessing now. Did I actually forget about it, or did I just stop consciously thinking about it while it ran somewhere in the background? Because I've been going back over the next few days, and I'm not sure. Emily got back from her mom's Thursday evening. We kissed at the door. She said she was tired from the drive, ate something, went to bed early. Normal visit. I had no reason to think anything of it. Friday morning, I woke up and she was already in the shower. And when she came out, her phone was in her hand. She was holding it. Just that. It registered, the way things register when you're half awake. Just filed away, not processed. And then I was standing at the coffee machine and my brain suddenly produced, "Kate started bringing her phone into the bathroom. Never did that before." I stood there for probably 10 seconds. Then I told myself, that's a coincidence. People bring their phones into the bathroom constantly now. Everybody does it. This is just your brain pattern matching on something you read last night. And I believed myself, and I moved on. That's what I keep coming back to. How convincingly I argued myself out of it. And I don't know if that was good instinct or bad instinct, whether I was being rational or whether I was doing the thing where you explain away something because the alternative is too uncomfortable to sit with. Friday night, Ryan and I went to a bar on South End. And I don't know why I brought up the post. It just came out of me mid-conversation. I said, "Hey, I read this thing on Reddit." And I described it, the weird call from the best friend and everything. And Ryan held his glass and looked at me and said, "Interesting," and then asked why I was telling him that. I said, "No reason, just thought of it." He said, took a sip. We watched the game. That pause. That small, specific pause. I've thought about it probably 20 times since then. The following week is hard to write about because, in retrospect, it has this quality of me slowly building a case that I kept simultaneously building and demolishing. Like I'd notice something, then explain it away, then notice something else. Emily came home at 8:15 on Monday and said she stayed late. Busy day. That happened. I lay awake for a while thinking about it, then told myself, it happens. She has busy days. This means nothing. Which is true. But I also thought about it. Tuesday night, I opened the post again. I don't know what I was looking for. Maybe just to reread it and find that my life didn't actually match it, that I'd been exaggerating the similarities in my head. In the author's own replies somewhere in the comments, he wrote, "Buddy, the worst part isn't finding out. The worst part is when you know, but you're not sure if you know, and you just keep watching it happen." I put my phone face down. Wednesday, Emily went outside to get some air at 10:45 p.m. We were watching a show, she stood up, said she'd step out for a second, grabbed her phone and her jacket and left. Back in 15 minutes. Said it was a little chilly. Curled up next to me. I stared at the screen and didn't see anything. The post started going outside to get some air late at night, something she'd never done before. Had she done it before? I genuinely couldn't remember. Maybe she had. Maybe I just hadn't clocked it as a pattern until now. That's the thing about the whole experience that I still find most disorienting. I couldn't tell what I was actually observing versus what I was constructing. Once you have a template, everything fits the template, or seems to. Thursday morning, I sat with coffee while Emily slept and opened the post again and found that the author had added an update overnight. He accidentally seen a message thread when she left her phone unlocked on the counter. A name. A coworker. He was sitting in a mall parking lot. He wrote, "The worst part is I saw all of this coming. Every sign was right in front of me. I just didn't let myself believe it." I looked out the window. Dawn coming up over the parking lot. Someone walking a dog. Emily's alarm went off in the bedroom and I was gripping my phone hard enough that my knuckles were white, and I didn't notice until I relaxed my hand. I texted Ryan that day. "Hey, was there something on your mind when you called the other night? You kind of seemed like you had something to say." He replied 20 minutes later. No, just wanted to catch up. All good." The author's post, Mike said, "No, forget it. I was overthinking." I know how this looks. I know the reasonable explanation is that I'd primed myself on a story and that was reverse engineering my life to fit it. That's genuinely possible, probably likely. But I also couldn't shake the thing where the similarities kept stacking. And at some point, probably just a coincidence starts to require more and more active effort to maintain. Friday evening, Ryan texted, "Going out tonight? Need to talk." We got a corner booth. He was quiet for a minute. "A few weeks ago, I saw Emily, without you, on Cumberland Avenue, that coffee place with the blue sign. She was with some guy. I was driving past, only caught it for a second. Could be anyone. Coworker, friend. Yeah, totally. That's what I told myself. But then I mentioned it to Sarah, and Sarah said she'd seen them before, different place about a month ago. She didn't say anything because she wasn't sure. I picked up my glass, set it back down. Why didn't you tell me right away? Because I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to put all this in your head if it was nothing. But then you told me about that Reddit post, and I figured maybe you were already picking up on something." I believed him. Ryan is the worst liar I know. His face completely gives it away, and his face was telling me he was telling me everything he actually knew. We sat a while longer, went our separate ways. I sat in my car outside the bar for maybe 20 minutes before I started the engine. Saturday morning, I made a decision to just ask Emily directly. Not because I was certain of anything, more because I was exhausted by the alternative, which was sitting there collecting details and feeling slowly insane. We were having breakfast, and I asked, did she meet up with anyone this week, like coffee or lunch? She looked up from her phone, steady eyes. "Lunch with Maggie on Wednesday. Why?" "Maggie is her work friend, I know her. Completely normal explanation." "Just curious." She put her phone down. "Jake, is something going on?" I said no, just work stress. She said, "If you want to talk, just tell me." I said, "Will do." She went to yoga. I sat at the kitchen table and thought, okay, see, it's Maggie, a lunch. You have been losing your mind over a stranger's Reddit post. An hour later, Sarah texted me. She almost never texts me directly. Hey Jake, can we talk? Not over the phone, better in person. It's important. Emily was at Target. Sarah came over. We sat in the kitchen and she got right to it. Late September, when Emily was at her mom's for a few days, yeah, she didn't go to her mom's. I heard the faucet dripping. Emily hadn't turned it all the way off. I worked near a hotel on Tryon Street. I saw her car in the parking lot. 2 mornings in a row. White Civic with the cat sticker. I know her car. I said maybe it was a different car. Sarah said she knew the car. I didn't see who she was with, so maybe there's an explanation you already know about, but I felt like you deserved to know just in case. She left a few minutes later. I sat at the table. Late September, Emily at her mom's. Emily came back from Target and smiled at the door, and I took her bags and set them on the counter and turned around and said, "We need to talk." We sat down. I asked her, straight, late September, when she was at her mom's, was she actually there? 1 second of silence. Yes, why are you asking? Sarah saw your car at a hotel on Tryon Street 2 mornings in a row. Silence. Emily looked at the table, then looked back up. Jake. She said she rented that room, alone. She'd been struggling for months, needed a therapist, was doing video sessions from the hotel room because she needed to actually be by herself. Didn't tell me because she didn't know how to explain that she was struggling when everything looked fine. The guy in the coffee shop, that was my therapist, Nick. He does sessions outside sometimes. I stood up, went to the window. Regular October afternoon in the parking lot. Relief. Actual physical relief. And then, about 30 seconds behind it, something else, a small, quiet thing in the back of my head that I immediately recognized and immediately didn't want to look at directly. Sunday, she went for a run, and I opened the post one more time. I think I needed to read it and find some actual difference between his story and mine, some detail that proved mine had a different ending. And instead, in the comments, buried partway down, I found the reply from the author to someone's question. He wrote, "The thing is, when she told me the real explanation for the hotel, it made sense. It was convincing. I believed her. For about 3 weeks. And then I found the actual proof. The real explanation was just a better lie. I got out of bed, went to the kitchen, drank some water, stood at the window. That was when the quiet thing in the back of my head got louder. And I want to be honest about what happened next, because I think it's the most important part of this whole thing, and it's also the part where I behaved in a way I'm not proud of. A few days later, during the day while Emily was at work, I sat down at her laptop. She'd left it open on the desk, screensaver running, no password. I woke the screen up. The wallpaper was us at Myrtle Beach last summer. We're both laughing. She's holding an ice cream cone. I'm squinting in the sun. I closed the laptop. I want to tell you it was because I had a sudden epiphany about trust and decided to handle this the right way. But honestly, I'm not sure that's what it was. I think partly I was afraid of what I might find, and partly I'd had enough of the loop I was in. Read the post, find the coincidence, explain it away. Read the post, find the coincidence, explain it away. And some part of me understood that going through her laptop wasn't going to end it. It was just going to be one more thing I either found or didn't find and then had to interpret. I called Ryan instead. He said, "Come over." I was there in 20 minutes and told him everything, the whole 3 weeks of it. He listened. Here's what I think. Some of those things actually happened. The call, I did ask that weird. But I asked because you'd seemed off for weeks before any of this started, not because of Emily specifically. The rest of it, I think you read a story and your brain started organizing your life around it. And now you can't see anything without checking it against the story. I said, "The hotel." "Yeah, the hotel's real. Do you believe her explanation?" I thought about it for a while. "I don't know." Then you need to actually talk to her. Not, "Hey, did you have lunch with anyone over eggs?" A real conversation, full disclosure, because you can't keep living in this limbo, and neither can she, even if she doesn't know you're in it. He also said, delete the post or hide it or whatever. Seriously, because right now, every time you open it, you're just adding more material to the pattern machine. I drove home, hit hide on the post. Thought that would help. It helped a little. 4 days I tried to just live normally. Didn't snoop, didn't check anything, didn't open Reddit. Emily actually started talking more during that time. About therapy, about what she'd been carrying, why she'd been afraid to seem like she was struggling. Real conversations, harder than the ones we usually had. I started to think maybe this was what was wrong, not something else, just this. Thursday night, 9:47, I got a text from a number I didn't know. Hey, are you Jake? Jake who's with Emily? Emily was right there on the couch next to me, watching Netflix. I stepped onto the balcony. His name was Chris. He worked with Emily. They'd been, in his words, close a few months ago. He thought I deserved to know the truth. He'd gotten my number through a mutual. I asked him what his angle was. He said he didn't have one. I asked why now. He said he'd been going back and forth about it for weeks. I said where and when. I'm going to skip ahead a little because writing out the full night of lying there next to Emily not sleeping is something I don't need to do in a CVS parking lot at 2 a.m. I met Chris the next day at a coffee shop. He was around 30, nervous, already there when I arrived. He told me they'd worked on a project together. Work meetings turned into real conversations. He'd fallen for her. She'd said things, that she was unhappy, that she felt lonely, that she didn't know if she wanted to keep going. And then she ended it, he said, about 2 months ago, said it wasn't right, that she wanted to try to fix things, started going to therapy. I asked if anything physical happened between them. He was quiet for a second, said once, early on, and then no. I nodded, stood up. He called after me that she loved me. He could see it. That was why she left. I walked to my car. Here's what I'll say about that conversation. It explained things. The therapy, the hotel room, the distraction. It wasn't the better lie. It was the thing underneath the explanation I'd been given, the reason she needed the explanation. I sat in the parking lot and tried to figure out what I was actually feeling, and I'm still not sure I can name it accurately. It wasn't what I expected, which was, I don't know, rage maybe? Devastation. It was something quieter and more complicated than that. I thought about the author of that post. He found out and burned everything down in one night. He wrote later that he wondered sometimes if he should have just talked to her sooner. I opened my phone, opened Reddit, looked at the hidden post for a second. Then I opened my contacts and texted Emily, "We need to talk tonight. Really talk. I love you, and that's exactly why." She replied in 2 minutes. "I know. Me too. Come home." I'm not going to give you a full transcript of that conversation. Some of it is too recent and too personal, and some of it I'm still trying to figure out what it means. She didn't know I'd met with Chris. When I told her, she went pale and said, "Oh God." She told me her version, which matched what Chris said, but from the inside. What she'd been feeling, what she'd been thinking, what she'd decided and why. She was ashamed. She said for months she'd been trying to figure out whether to fix things or leave. "Were you going to leave?" I asked. I didn't know. I was trying to figure out what I actually wanted. "And what did you figure out?" Long pause. "That I want you. If you still want me after all this." We sat in the kitchen. The light was dim. Rain outside. 3 years of stuff between us. I didn't know what to say. Not because I was numb or shutting down, just genuinely didn't know. And that felt accurate, actually, to the situation. I'm still in the parking lot. It stopped raining. Emily and I haven't broken up. I made an appointment with a therapist, not because she goes, just because I realize I have a lot to sort out that's mine and not hers, and trying to do it all in the same conversation doesn't work. I don't know what happens next. I keep trying to figure out what this story means, what I'm supposed to take from it, and I keep hitting the same problem. It doesn't really have a clean meaning. I spent 3 weeks following someone else's narrative and trying to map it onto my life, and that was genuinely bad for me in ways that are hard to fully account for. But also, some of what I was picking up on turned out to be real. So I can't tell you the lesson is stop looking for patterns, any more than I can tell you the lesson is trust your gut. I think the honest version is I got completely lost in someone else's story and lost track of my own. And at some point, Ryan just said, drop the post and talk to her like a real person. And that's the only part that actually worked. I'll probably go back to scrolling Reddit before bed. It's a bad habit, but it's mine. Okay, time to drive home.